Now, you've probably heard of proxying before, and you may have even tried it yourself, but you feel like every time you try to enter the proxy position, you end up getting killed by the enemy jungler. So we're going to be going through exactly what you should be thinking about before trying to proxy to give you the highest success rate. Now, in terms of proxying, what is the purpose of it? The main two reasons why you'd do so would be to get yourself a high tempo recall, so just proxying a single wave before basing means you can walk back to lane and not miss any farm or XP at all, even if you don't have teleport, or it's going to put you in a position where you can avoid your matchup entirely. So if your matchup is something like a Tahm Kench or a Gragas, these big beefy meatballs that you can't really make any progress against, proxying and trying to attack the enemy jungler or the enemy mid, or maybe even eating jungle camps, is going to be the best strategy for you. And in terms of the champions that you want to be proxying on, the main criteria for if you can do so is good wave clear and survivability. So a champion like Garen or a champion like Singe, of course, are two of the most famous ones because they're really hard to kill and also they have amazing wave clear. But you can proxy on relatively any champion, granted you hit these two conditions. So if you're playing a champion like Fiora, you of course cannot proxy, but once you have your tier mat, especially your Ravenous Hydra, you can look for it. So you just need the wave clear and the survivability aspect and you're good to go. You shouldn't proxy on a champion like Camille or a champion like Teemo, as it takes you way too long to clear the wave and you're relatively easy to kill from that position in the lane. Now, of course, the hardest part about proxying is knowing if you're going to die to a jungle gank or not. So my number one rule that I want you to follow before getting into this proxy position is not going to be, oh, you should track the jungle perfectly, or you should only proxy when you see them on dragon or ganking bot, nothing like that. It's always going to be the number one rule, do they have the threat to kill you? If not, you should go for that proxy right away. So crash in a wave, walk either past the tower if your opponent doesn't do much damage to you, or walk around the back if you feel like they could beat you up, and start your proxy right away if they don't have the threat needed to kill you. So what I mean by threat is imagining you get ganked by a champion like Graves, with no red buff, you're probably not going to die on the majority of champions that want to proxy, especially if you have a rune like Phase Rush or Flash Up, something like that. It's very likely you can clear the wave and get out if you're ganked by a low threat champion like a Graves or a Master Yi. But in the exact same scenario, but the jungle champion is changed to a Rek'Sai or an Elise, there's a much higher chance you die if you get ganked proxying, so you need to be seeing exactly where they are, or knowing that they're not top before you go into that proxy position, as their threat is way too high for you to look for it in the first place. So I have an example here of a game I just played yesterday where proxying is going to be the optimal strategy. So here up against Irelia, I have got a team at this point, really hard for me to freeze and let the wave come back towards me. It's better for me to go for a proxy in this situation. So I'm going to be trying to get this wave in as fast as I can, and then start my proxy journey. Should I be able to walk past her in this game, or do I have to walk around the back? Always ask yourself that before you're in this position, and in this case I can walk past her. Even if she E's me, I can W that stun, and she doesn't have the damage to kill me, especially because I'm a level ahead. Now, when should you be taking plates? The number one rule for this is prioritize the proxy over the plate. So I'm only going for this tower plate now, because I'm not going to miss out on my proxy opportunity. If you ever have to choose between the both, just go for the wave. And don't hit the tower if they can all in you, but again, because she didn't have the threat to do so, I'm happy to try to get both in this game. You can see I'm warding up the enemy jungle, making my proxying a lot easier for me. I can see when I'm getting ganked, and in terms of the jungle threat, even if I didn't see where Viego was, he cannot kill me. He's a Phage Viego at this point. I've got all my abilities up, I'm so strong. If he ganks me, I'm gonna actually turn and kill him. Worst case scenario, if I get 2v1'd, I can flash away, so the chance he kills me is pretty much 0%. So this is a really good time to proxy, and you can see I'm proxying, I'm moving down, looking for a play, but because the play was so far away, I decided not to roam. It's really important that you only drop your proxy position if you're literally making a play, so ganking mid, killing the jungler, something like that. So I'm back to my wave, looking to proxy, and do that all over again. It's a kind of a seesaw in a way, where you proxy a wave, look for a play, and keep doing that until a play is made. Now we can see a cannon wave. In early game, cannon waves can be a bit annoying for proxying, so be careful level 4, level 5 if it's a cannon wave, but at this point you just one-shot the wave, so not a big deal. So my strategy here, I'm going to be taking the wave, there's no play to make mid, I can't gank that Zac by myself, so taking the Gromp is going to be the best strategy. So a little tip for that as well, sometimes you're not going to have time to do the Gromp in time, but here you can see I'm pulling the Gromp out of the wall here, so that I can catch my wave at the same time. You'll see just as the Gromp's about to get low HP, I know I can kill it in time, before his Teva bar drops, and I can catch this wave as well and maintain my great proxy position. In this game, if Viego ganked me, I can't die, Irelia can't do anything about it, so it's an optimal time to proxy because there's no way they can stop me even if I got ganked a couple of times. So to summarize the formula for proxying, if you're playing a champion with great wave clear and decent survivability, you can look to proxy in games where you want to get yourself a high tempo recall, or if you want to avoid your matchup entirely. Now, making sure we're not scared of the enemy jungler as a whole concept, but we're only scared of the threat that they have on us. We might die in some games up against champs like Rek'Sai or Zenzel, but the exact same game if they're playing Master Yi or a Kindred, we can't die, so make sure you're thinking about the threat that they have on you before deciding to proxy or not.